militarized occupations and assaults by the United States and Mexico on our lands, culture, livelihoods, ceremonies, and traditional sustenance. Of the 2,000-mile-long militarized conflict zone, over 1,400 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border is the traditional territory of the Apache people. The Apache people must be given the opportunity to participate in the environmental, economic, social, and political decision-making in the region. There are currently over 18,000 U.S. soldiers occupying our border communities with a buildup of up to 75,000 by 2010 and an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 Mexican soldiers currently deployed in the border towns and villages positioned for crackdowns on civil society, indigenous protests against the construction of a Berlin-style wall, which is dissecting Yaqui, O'odham, Opata, Mayo, Cocopah communities along the border. Indigenous women are particularly targeted by the violence that militarization culture imposes on the U.S.-Mexico conflict region, evidenced by the 4,000 plus disappeared and murdered women of Juarez and other border towns. In response to this year's theme of climate, biocultural diversity, and livelihoods, we bring the forum's attention to the adverse effects of the 18-foot high cement and steel border wall on the spiritual welfare of the Apache and other indigenous peoples along the U.S.-Mexico border corridor. This physical barrier is disrupting animal migration routes and deterring the growth of native vegetation and herbal medicinal used in traditional ceremonies. The border wall will impede the safe travel on foot, car, and other modes of Apache people back and forth across the militarized zone. Militarization of the border has resulted in the industrialized destruction of habitats, environments, livelihoods, biodiversity, water resources, traditional agricultural practices, traditional food security, and traditional peace practices. To allow construction of the border wall, the U.S. recently waived over 35 laws to build a wall which provided some measure of protection to indigenous people's rights to their environment, cultural, and way of life. We respectfully request the UNPFII consider our recommendations to take an intersectional approach to climate change that involves consideration of militarization, industrialization, gender, and environmental degradation in the United States-Mexico militarized zone of occupation and conflict. I hear a Yosin, I hear a Yini, I hear a Shamasapai and De, and then I hear a Shatasama and De. Thank you.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Como representante de Nicaragua,